Right. And it is just about 12:02 on my time. So in the interest of everyone's time, I'll go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for registering for today's webinar, and good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the US today or elsewhere. My name is Robin Lane Jimenez, and I am the Assistant Director of Parent Engagement here at Elon University. We are very excited to offer the first webinar of the Fall 2025 Phoenix Families Live series today to discuss helping your students prepare for and navigate the job market after graduation. We are joined today by some friendly faces. So we have Heather Pacco, the Associate Vice President for the Student Professional Development Center, and Ross Wade here, who is the Director of Career Services for the School of Communications and Alumni. And I am going to go ahead and pass it on over to them. If you do have questions throughout today's webinar, feel free to drop them in that Q&A feature, and we will either answer them as we go along or flag it to be answered live if it is such a question that requires so. So without further ado, here is Heather.
Well, thank you, Robin. And Ross and I are excited to speak with you all today about how both the SPDC and you as parents and families can support your student in navigating today's job market. Parents and families are a huge part of our students' career success. So kudos to you all. And thank you again for joining us today to learn more about how you can support your students' overall career development process. We will kick things off with a quick overview of the Student Professional Development Center, followed by a conversation around both recruiting trends and the AI-driven future of work. We all can't go a day without talking about AI, so I wanted to make sure to lean into that a little bit this afternoon. And then we'll talk a little bit more about how you can use this information, again, to support your student navigating their job and or internship search. And we'll also make sure to leave some time for a Q&A. So let's get started. For those of you who may not be familiar with our office, we are the Student Professional Development Center. You might have heard your student refer to us as the SPDC. Essentially, we are the Career Services Office on campus. Our team is comprised of multiple verticals across career advising and education, corporate and employer relations, as well as operations and communication. Your students will work most closely with our career advisors, such as my colleague Ross Wade, who are assigned to work with students based off of their college, school, and or identity. So for example, Ross meets with all of our School of Communication students in his office that is based in the school. Again, we want to meet students where they're physically at. But know that your student will also be receiving support from behind the scenes from some of our other verticals, such as corporate and employer relations, who are working diligently to source jobs and internships and other different types of career experiences for our Elon students, as well as our ops and comm team, who they're going to be hosting a variety of career programs and events for students throughout the year, such as some of our career fairs or networking nights. So while our main office, or what we like to refer to as our hub, is located in our Mosley Student Center, we also have 3 satellite or spoke locations across campus, again, to meet students where they're physically at. So our School of Communications and our Love School of Business students are served within their academic buildings. We also have space for our student athletes who have a dedicated career advisor in our Quarry Athletic building. And across all of our locations, we provide a variety of services ranging from one-on-one career advising. We do small group coaching huddles. We also offer business cards and professional headshots, all at no charge to our students. And it's important to note that Elon provides career services for life. This is definitely a unique differentiator and a high value proposition that our office offers. So we will work with students before they graduate, at graduation, They need us in 30 years, we will still be here for them. So just wanted to share that information with you all. And as mentioned, our corporate and employer relations team, again, works really hard to build those recruiting relationships with key companies in support of developing these career experiences for our students. Again, those can be jobs, internships, career treks, job shadows, anything where we're connecting them to industry. These career opportunities are shared via our Elon Job Network, also known as EJN. Your student can log into the Elon Job Network to connect with our employers that are looking to hire Elon talent. But in addition to searching for jobs and internships, this is also where they can schedule one-on-one career advising appointments. They can also view an RSVP for some of those career events, like I mentioned previously. Maybe it's a career fair, as well as other different types of engagement opportunities. And this can be accessed via the SPDC website, as well as I just included a URL on this slide for folks so they can have it easily accessible. And over the past 15 years or so, Elon has built a very powerful and effective footprint in career services. And I wanted to share some key metrics with you today so you can kind of understand the scope and scale of what our office does in terms of supporting our Elon students. So if you look at our career outcomes for the class of 2024, again, 2025 collection is in progress. It's going to be available at the top of next year, but you can just kind of see by looking at this slide how the work on our campus has translated to employment connections, career goals, salary gains, along the way with our office receiving recognition for excellence in career services, as well as, again, connecting students to employment opportunities and making sure that they achieve career success post-graduation. Which the work that we're doing really puts our students at a great vantage point when navigating the current job market. And speaking of the job market, early career talent is currently navigating a quite a challenging landscape. But I do want to reiterate that myself and Ross and our colleagues in the SPDC are really there to support them every step of the way. One thing to note is that students are not required to use our office, but strongly encouraged. So the more that you can encourage your student to engage with us early and often, the better they will be able to navigate this job market. So I put a couple of data bites on there just to share with you. As you can see, the overall US unemployment rate is 4.3%, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But you can see that recent graduates aged 20 to 24 with a bachelor's degree face more than double that rate at 9.3%. And that's a pretty important data point just to kind of wrap your head around in terms of early career talent. And this gap where you can kind of see that really underscores why that early career support and networking matter more than ever. So think about things like internships, skill building, and employer connections. All of those are going to significantly improve your student's chance of landing a job or an internship or different types of career experiences. And again, as parents, as families, you want to encourage your students to, again, engage early and often with our office and start thinking about their career early, as soon as their freshman year, all the way through graduation, throughout their 4 years at Elon. So we know the job market is a little bit challenging, but how can our students best navigate this landscape? The job market in and of itself is evolving quite rapidly, and so are employer expectations in terms of how they are recruiting and hiring students today. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some recruiting trends that we're seeing that are shaping how students are being hired in 2025. First off, companies are being more cautious in their hiring, due in part to some economic pressures as well as some shifting workforce strategies. So what does that really mean? If I think about caution, caution is showing up not only in more selective hiring. So for example, just last year, they weren't hiring, you didn't have to have a bachelor's degree for every role that was recruiting for. We're seeing a pivot back to more of those bachelor degree required. We're also seeing things like fewer incentives, such as signing bonuses. But the good news there is that they are still actively seeking students who are ready to contribute. And this means that, if your student is building those relevant skills and gaining those career experiences, engaging early with career resources, they will be positioned to succeed even in this competitive and sometimes challenging market. Skills are mattering more than GPA. So I want to stress that academic performance is still very, very key and important, but many employers are now increasingly focused on skills such as communication, problem solving, teamwork, digital technology over the actual GPA of their coursework. And again, they're looking for students that not only have these skills, but can they show how they have applied these skills in real world settings? Which is why things like internships and other form of early career experiences are still viewed as clutch, still viewed as essential. Internships remain one of the most effective pathways to full-time employment. And from our employer partners, we hear that they are one of the best ways to build those real world skills and being able to demonstrate that in a meaningful way. Again, employers really value these types of experiences. And one thing I will mention is that while there are some challenges with our economy right now with our full-time hires, we see time and time again our employer partners are continuing to invest in these early career programs across industries. So there is a lot of opportunity with our internship piece. And last but not least, one of the biggest shifts that we're seeing is the use of AI, artificial intelligence, in the hiring process. We see that employers are using AI to screen resumes, conduct video interviews. Some of them are even using different AI tools to assess skills of early career talent. So this means that our students need to be prepared. They need to be prepared to present themselves effectively and efficiently in digital formats. They also need to understand how to use AI tools responsibly in their own search. Something I often say to students when I'm coaching them is to use AI as a coach, not a copywriter. So how do you find that balance of using it to optimize your work in your search while keeping authentic to your voice and who you are as a candidate? Um, Ross, I'm curious to hear from you. Are you hearing any other feedback from our employers or our alumni in the field regarding maybe how they're recruiting talent for internships or full-time opportunities?
Yes, I was actually at a really great training over the summer, and there was an HR representative from Deloitte, and he explained it as, you know, before 5 years ago, when you think about early talent and think of it as a shape, it would be a triangle, right? So the base is where all the entry-level folks are coming in. Now that so much AI optimization has occurred, it's turned more into a diamond where AI is kind of taking the place of some of those base jobs. However, there are still a lot of really great jobs that are available, but the key is for students to be able to mix these artificial intelligence skills with with their authentic intelligence. So that's really, really key. And though it seems like a lot of college students are using AI, they haven't made the transition to using it for a career yet. So that's something that we're focusing a lot on in our workshops with students to help them understand this could be helpful for interview prep, for your resume, for your portfolio, for all these different types of things.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that. I was talking to a tech consulting firm not too long ago who said something similar in terms of it's also not about a specific tool that they need, it's really about that fluency. So, do students understand how to use AI, how to have these lifelong learning skills so that they can optimize their work? And I know that here in the SPDC, we're actually working to continuing to develop tools and resources, like Ross, you were saying, to help our students leverage AI in their search. And I wanted to share another data point from the 2025 NACE Student Survey report. Again, companies aren't the only ones that are using AI in their recruiting efforts. Students are using it in their job search process as well. So they did a survey of class of 2025 graduating seniors, And this chart shows the different ways throughout their job search process that these students who were surveyed were using AI. So if you look at this chart here, coming in the top three, leveraging AI, which they were literally within a point of each other, cover letters, interview prep, and resume. Again, a lot of tailoring, a lot of optimizing there. And again, in the SPDC, we encourage the use of AI in students' job search process, but again, reinforcing that importance of coach, not copywriter. Um, I know, Ross, you've been doing some things around kind of coaching students on how to write strong prompts to get the information that they need. Are there other ways that you're using this, or you're seeing our fellow advisors in coaching using or helping our students understand how to leverage AI in the job search? Both from job and internship search, but also career exploration or company research, or maybe even self-assessment.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I'm answering questions and then trying to pay attention at the same. No, no, no. I'm going to share my screen really quickly because our colleague Lassay did a really great job of creating a prompt library. And so this is what I'm doing a lot of presentations on and a lot of coaching around when I'm meeting with students. And as you can see, the top part just kind of goes through why this is important. But then it has the different types parts of the career development cycle that you can use AI to assist you with. I do a program with first year students, and we focus on the clarify your direction prompt. And what I like about it so much is that it explicitly tells them this is how you have to use the technology. You have to tell it you are a hiring manager or you are a marketing executive. And then you have to include who you are, what you need, and then also how you need it. So for example, here for the career exploration one, the identity that is given to AI is you're an exploration coach, help me identify paths that align with my skills, values, etc. But first, I'm going to give you more information about me. So tasks that I enjoy, that I don't enjoy, what drains me, my top professional values, upload your resume without your contact information because that's a no-no. And then second, just generate career options. And you can see the student can customize pretty specifically how they want that given to them. So for this particular prompt, there's a role description, alternative job titles, because a lot in my field in Stratcom, like an account executive can be 5 different titles across different
Mhm.
agencies, skills, trajectories, etc., and then helping summarize next steps as well. So that's just one example. And the students, when they do this in live time, like on ChatGPT or Perplexity, they really enjoy it, and it makes with it makes a really fun, engaging workshop with our students.
No, that's great. Thanks for sharing that piece. And it's something that we work on not only in the SPDC, but at Elon at large. And then speaking of AI, again, generative AI is obviously changing the way that work looks. Ross, you alluded to some of that in some of the previous comments that you made. And again, the goal of the SPDC is to also make sure we're equipping our students to be ready for that next generation of jobs that's coming down that pipeline. So as we look ahead, one of the biggest shifts in the workplace is this rapid adoption of AI. AI is not going anywhere. If you look back in the past 25 to 30 years, we haven't seen tech be adapted this quickly before. A data point that I pulled is that 75% of knowledge workers are already using AI tools, and nearly half of them started doing so just in the last 6 months. Again, that's how fast things are moving. So for our students, that means that they'll need to be comfortable using AI, not just as a novelty, like, oh, I'm going to go into ChatGPT and ask a quick prompt here or there, but as a core part of how they work. That could be whether they're writing, maybe they're analyzing data, or even coding. AI is going to be essential in terms of the work that they're doing and boosting their productivity. Again, to share an anecdotal piece of feedback when talking to a employer partner a couple of weeks ago, who last year brought on 5 early career folks for one of their regional offices. This year, they're bringing on 3. not because their work is changing, but 3 with AI fluency is going to give them the same output as 5 without AI fluency. So going back to this is a core skill that's not going anywhere. Just like back in the day, can you use Microsoft Office Suite? Now, can you use AI tools? We're also seeing a bit of a skills shift. So again, students need to know how to use these tools, not just to keep up, but to be able to lead in the workplace. A lot of employers, again, have an expectation that entry-level workers, regardless of what role, sector, industry that you're going in, are going to have, again, that certain level of AI fluency that allows them to pair, and that's the key piece, allows them to pair AI with their actual knowledge, expertise, and skills. And going back to and doing that, that is going to make them more productive. That is also going to open up new types of roles that we're going to see that involve AI fluency, such as AI trainers or prompt engineers. And again, not about a specific tool. Our students just need to know that they exist and understand how to leverage them. And while new roles are emerging, the good thing that I had alluded to, and Ross had talked a little bit about this, is that human skills are still irreplaceable. And we hear that time and time again. So things like creativity, ethical judgment, the ability to collaborate, these are the qualities that our employers are continuing to prioritize. And they need early career talent that can think critically. That's a very important skill that's not going anywhere. But that critical thinking is even more important with AI because they need to be able to take that output from AI that they're getting from putting those prompts in and be able to actually assess that, is this good? Is this bad? Is this useful? Is this not? So that human component is key, essential, and not going away. But again, ultimately, AI, like I mentioned, it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's something that we often tell students you need to embrace. It's not something to be afraid of. Sometimes we'll hear some concerns from students saying, how is this going to impact me when I graduate? Is this job going to still exist? What does this look like? And I'm here to just kind of share that the outlook is encouraging. So fact, there's going to be some roles that will be displaced. If you think about, do we have milkmen anymore that deliver milk to our homes? No. But we have a lot of new jobs that didn't exist previously. And looking at some recent projections, they're showing a net gain of 78 million jobs globally by 2030, which is huge. So I think the big takeaway here when we're talking to our students is that the future is not just about automation in terms of automating these roles, it's about transformation. So it's that shift in terms of what the opportunities will be like as we move into the future and being open to lifelong learning and agile so that you're able to really ride that transformation wave. As mentioned, we do things here at Elon above and beyond the SPDC. We're helping students build both those technical fluency and those human-centric skills. Again, that really good match of that to make sure that they're able to thrive in this evolving landscape. I wanted to just share a link to our Elon AI Hub. This includes a curated collection of different AI tools that are really designed to enhance students' productivity, creativity, learning both in and outside of the classroom. This is a great place for your student or even you to go and take a look to kind of start gaining experience using different generative AI tools. On here, we also, just to give a quick call out, we offer a student guide to artificial intelligence, as well as information about different student organizations on campus if your student's interested in taking a deeper dive into this space. Ross, you are embedded within the School of Communications. Can you maybe share some ways that you see AI kind of showing up within the School of Communication at Elon above and beyond the work that we're doing in the SPDC, or maybe some trends you're seeing across Elon at large?
Great question. So one thing that I've been working with some of our faculty with is that, and it's an interesting conversation to have because quite a few folks, understandably so, are a little bit nervous about this because now AI can create music and videos and all these different things that we train students to do, but it still can't do it like a human can. And there are all of these, like everyone's or every platform seems to have an AI component to it now, which is great. But one thing that I work with faculty on is helping them understand the industry specific AI things that, students, it might be helpful for them to know. Not necessarily become a master of, but just be aware of them so they could speak to them, and know their strengths and then their weaknesses. Also with AI, it's just, working with them to help them better understand that we're a partner in this. And so we're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting as well. So that's why a lot of our programming is going to revolve around it. Lots of our one-on-one appointments are going to evolve around it. And so letting them know that it's not just us, well, it's not just them, but it's us as well. And of course, we're focused more on the professional setting. So like, entry level careers, graduate schools, things like that. Um, as far as other AI initiatives, it's always a big topic when our board of advisors comes, and it's interesting to see not only by industry but by organization how they're using AI, if it's for HR or if it's for a different type of vertical. And so talking with those folks, including our alumni, is also something that is really important to us so that they can give us kind of like on the ground, here's where I'm seeing this used right now.
Right. And I just want to check in really, Ross. Can you still see my screen, the screen share on here? Just want to make sure my computer
Yeah,
just did a
yep,
little
I can see
flicker.
it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure everyone can still see that. So we've talked a lot about kind of the state of the economy and the job market and how that's being influenced in terms of AI and different recruiting trends. We now wanted to pivot and talk a little bit more about other ways above and beyond the being aware of this ever evolving recruiting landscape, other ways that you can support your student in their search. So first, you want to make sure that your student understands the market. More specifically, what skills and competencies are employers looking for? According to NACE, which NACE is the National Association of Colleges and Employers, they have worked with employers across the country who hire early career talent to define 8 core competencies that prepare college students for success, both in the workplace as well as lifelong career management. These 8 competencies are career and self-development, communication, critical thinking, equity and inclusion, leadership, professionalism, teamwork, and technology. And you can see a little blurb in terms of what that actually means in practice. I wanted to show you another slide. This slide shows how employers rate these competencies in terms of importance as measured in a very recent job outlook report that was issued by NACE, again, this past year. You can see that it leads with communication and rounds out with leadership. And you'll kind of notice that these are a mix of what sometimes people refer to as those hard and soft skills, many of which are going to be quite complementary to that AI-driven workplace that Ross and I were talking about earlier. For example, going back to the importance of critical thinking when using some of those generative AI tools. And employers are also seeking specific skills and attributes when they're reviewing college students' resumes. Nearly 90% of employers responding to NACE's Job Outlook 2025 survey indicated that they're seeking evidence of a student's ability to solve problems, and nearly 80% are seeking candidates who have strong teamwork skills. You'll also see from here written communication skills, initiative, strong work ethic, as well as technical skills are important to at least 70% of these responding employers from this survey. And in addition, more than 2/3 of them are also seeking things like verbal communication skills, flexibility, adaptability, as well as analytical and or quantitative skills in terms of the candidates that they're looking to recruit. And our career advisors here in the SPDC, again, are here to help students with their resumes, coaching them with how not only to optimize and tailor them, but highlight the skills that they develop in the classroom and beyond, to make sure that they have this very important piece of their career toolkit. It's also really noticed that's important that students know their VIPs. And then by VIPs, we mean their values, interest, personality, and skills. So encouraging your student to build a thorough understanding of who they are at their core is key to both identifying and evaluating potential career paths and opportunities. So what do these buckets mean? What are VIPs in theory? Starting with values. Values really determine what is most important to them in their work. That could include things from a certain compensation or maybe work-life balance, travel. Some students want to be working with a specific customer base or our population. Others we hear, I want the potential to advance in my career. So lots of options there in terms of values. And there's no one correct set of priorities per se. It's really up to them. But having a sense of what those values are really important. And then there's interests. Interests guide where our students invest their time and energy when given the freedom to choose. So have them consider what they enjoy doing most in their spare time, or maybe what they want to do when they're working. Those are all going to help them identify their interests. And then we have personality, which really refers to how they interact in the world. So having an understanding of their style and preferences can allow them to both draw connections between who they are and the work environments or job functions that they might find most comfortable, as well as identifying those growing edges for them. And then last but not least are skills. We've talked a lot about skills today and the importance of developing skills and upskilling. Skills really represent the way in which they will address the needs of an employer or a potential employer that they're working with. So essentially, what will they actually be doing in that workplace? Again, skills are informed by many things, such as their knowledge and their talent, and they're refined through practice. So asking your student to think about, again, what do they most enjoy doing, as well as what are they good at, helps with that conversation. And again, our career advisors are available to have a lot of these conversations with them, both through one-on-one coaching and advising, as well as through different assessments. Ross, is there anything that you'd like to add to this slide in terms of the work that our advisors are doing with students in this space?
Um, I think also just, and this might be more for the professional schools like business and comms, but we like to really be able to be a resource to them as to what's going on in the market right now. So my team was able to do a presentation at the faculty monthly meeting last week to say, here's what's going on, and we talked a lot about what Heather has discussed today, but in addition, here's what we're doing to meet that need, and then just give them like a Q&A session as well. So that for us buys a lot of street cred with our faculty and then also alumni as well. And I'm biased because I work with alumni, but I see them as such an incredible resource to give us like, here's what's going on the ground right now in agencies in advertising in the LA area. And so that can be super helpful. That's information that I can bring back and share not only with faculty and staff, but also with students as well.
No, thank you for sharing that insight. And one of the last slides we want to share with you is, we talked a little bit about knowing the market, knowing yourself. Our students also need to market themselves. So how are they telling their story? Through essentially a collection of assets or collateral as part of what we refer to as their career toolkit. So I included a couple of key components of a career toolkit just to be aware of in terms of your conversations with your students, starting with resumes. Resumes are often an employer's first experience with them as a candidate. And on this tool, it's really important that they showcase any relevant experience and skills. Again, tailoring those resumes to specific roles or opportunities, while again, keeping core and authentic to their self. Next is the cover letter. It's always fun to kind of craft that cover letter. It's really an opportunity to provide really that lens through which the resume is viewed. Students can use this to summarize why they're a strong candidate, what specific skills, experiences, passions align with the qualifications outlined in the job description. They can also use this as a way to address any potential objections to their candidacy, but overall tailoring of that cover letter, just like with the resume, is key. If they don't already have a LinkedIn profile, we know many of our students already have these in place, but please encourage them to not only create one, but to optimize their LinkedIn profile. The LinkedIn profile, again, allows your students to showcase their brands and really being active on one of the largest professional social networking platforms that is out there. And last but not least, network. Who you know, who they know, who knows you. It's all cyclical, and it is a key part of your career development process. So again, building the professional network is critical to career success nowadays, and it is never too soon to make it a priority. We often encourage students to seek informational interviews, attend networking events, or even connect with alumni via our Elon Q&A platform. Ross, can you speak to some of the career support the SPDC offers in terms of students working on their career toolkit, maybe above and beyond some of the career advising pieces? For example, you had talked about some workshops that are put on.
Yes, so we do a variety of different interventions with our students. One, as I mentioned earlier, I think one of the most valuable parts about having an Elon degree is having access to all of the Elon alumni. So that's critical in the work that we do for all phases of the career development cycle, from self-exploration to resume writing to interviewing. That is so critical. So that's infused to a lot of the things that we do with students. And we also do a variety of programs, like we might do a virtual alumni panel, or I know that our colleague John, who works in health sciences, did a book club for folks that are in health sciences that are interested in that. So we offer a lot of different things. Again, we try to bring in folks from industry as often as possible so that they can get that experience from someone that lives it day to day. Um, our school is also very, if you're unfamiliar with Gallup Strengths assessment, Elon is a big Gallup school, so we talk about strengths a lot and helping students, understand just because they might not have the exact skill that, is wanted, they can use their existing strengths to cover that no problem, and they just need to focus on that. So adaptability seems to be something that we're working a lot more with students on. They seem to sometimes need like a list. First do this and this and this and this and this and this. So trying to work on like being adaptable and focus and trying to focus them back on those key competencies that Heather talked about earlier that are really important to employers.
Well, thank you for that. And we talked about networking. We talked a little bit about Elon Q&A. Elon Q&A is a networking and micro mentorship platform that we have here to connect our students to alumni. And as mentioned when we kicked off our webinar today, in addition to overseeing career services for the School of Communication, Ross is also our Director of Alumni Career Services for Elon University at large. Ross, can you tell us a little bit more about how both students and parents can use Elon Q&A?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the best resources that I've seen in a really long time. The actual organization of the platform is called Protopia, and they're actually based in Raleigh, just down the road from us. But it's an AI driven, and actually I can show it to you. I'm a big sharer, so let me just pardon me for that real quick. It's easier to share than to or show than to tell. So let me go in here. I'm going to go into Elon Q&A. Again, it's data driven, and they don't need to sign up for anything or sign into anything. We have 35,000 plus alumni that are a part of our database, and they represent incredible organizations across the world. And what a student does is they simply just ask a question, and it asks for their name and their email address and what their major might be, etc. And then they ask a question. And so a lot of our coaching goes around this: what makes a good question? What isn't a good question? And so the short version is you want to introduce yourself, you want to tell them what you're looking for, and then offer gratitude in advance. So really thinking of this more as a prompt than just a question. So again, trying to get them to think strategically. Not asking 17 questions in the same note, but asking one at a time. And then coaching them, it is okay to ask about what do HR careers look like at Google, and not saying I want a job at Google, because alums aren't going to respond to that. So they type in their note, AI assesses it, and then it matches with our alumni in the database. And their note is sent directly to matching alumni. They can decline or accept and get back via email. If they're declined, it goes to other alumni that match what they're looking for. And if they don't get back, it comes to me, and then I get back to them individually, and I set up a time to chat about networking and how to use LinkedIn to find alumni.
No, thank you for that. And I think we've continued to grow in terms of utilization. And what I love about this, and I think this might be important for our parents to know if they don't know already, is that there's not a risk of failure in terms of reaching out, and that students will get a response. And if the system is unable to match them from the jump, Ross, you and your team will work to make sure that there's a connection there. Right.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Yep.
and I know we have about 15 minutes or so left, and we have covered an awful lot today. So I know we hope that this chat has given you some more information as well as some tools to really support your students navigating not only their career development process, but the job market. So I know Ross and Robin and I wanted to open up the floor for any questions. I know the chat's been kind of pop in there throughout our conversation. Robin, is there anything that you would like to throw out to Ross and I?
Yes, and thank you all for your thoughtful questions ahead of time. We do have a few here to answer live. So the first being, how do we best help our students to take advantage of these resources? Are these resources available and students are encouraged to take part, or is the engagement from them with them from the school far more assertive?
Yeah, so going back to that original comment that I made about how encouraging your students to engage both early and often is key. We are not required to be engaged with, but we are strongly encouraged. And within some of our colleges and schools, we are actually a part of the curriculum through some different career courses, whether those be internship courses, or we have like a Gateway to Business course, for example, that we partner with the Love School of Business on. So making sure that they are engaging with our office, they can go to our website. And I think a really great place to start is by scheduling a career advising appointment. Ross, can you maybe demystify that a little bit? A question I often get from parents too is, my student doesn't know what they want to do. Can they schedule an appointment if they're just not sure? What do you say when you hear that question?
Yeah, absolutely. And those are the questions that we really love exploring with students. So there is this notion that, students come to us for help with their resume and their LinkedIn and then find a job, but they don't understand necessarily that we're here to be sounding boards as well, just to kind of listen to them and listen to what they're saying and asking questions that when you start to pick up common themes and putting that together with how they're reacting, it's showing, I'm seeing a theme here and I'm going to show it to you. Does this make sense to you? Okay, well, maybe we can try an assessment to, see even further how deeply these connect to each other. So we want to have those types of conversations with students, just because, we see ourselves as educators, not as administrators. So we're here to teach students to think critically, to think about, here's a problem, let's find a solution for it. And so those are a lot of the types of conversations that I have. Most of mine, just because I work a lot with seniors, come around salary negotiation, and, and they'll get a contract, and so they want to talk through that. And so we have a lot of really good conversations. So, all of that to say, if your student has any professional question, just send them to us because we probably have a resource for it and we can get them to someone that can help them explore more. They can come as many times as they want to. I have students that come every other week because they need that level of support. So we are here for them.
Fantastic. All right, moving into our next question, kind of about timelines of receiving job offers. So this parent is asking, when are most Elon students getting job offers? You know, some of the business students or business school majors tend to receive earlier offers. Is there any idea when employers are generally hiring newer grads?
Yeah, so the recruiting timelines are very specific by industry or function. So less about school, however, some schools maintain similar industries or functions. So I know you mentioned the Love School of Business, so I'll lean in that direction and speak more broadly. So if we think about our business students specifically, or any of our students, when you think about recruiting timelines, they really fall into two buckets. First bucket is campus-based recruiting. That is companies that recruit on more of that traditional college recruiting schedule. They might be doing that virtually or in person, but what the traditional schedule looks like is they will come to campus in fall to recruit for interns for the following summer, again, speaking very broadly, and then come back in spring for full times for that summer. We are seeing those timelines get bumped further and further up. For example, with our finance and students, specifically banking, we have companies coming in spring of 2026 for summer 2027 internships. So it's a matter of really understanding and working with your career coach or advisor. And we put together these recruiting timelines to kind of understand that pacing. So a lot of the roles that recruit on more of that traditional recruiting cycle are some of those key business roles within finance, some of those LDP programs, leadership development programs, and some of those larger corporations that recruit a class of intern or a class of full-time. And then there's kind of that second wave, which is what I refer to as that specialized search, where those students in the fall are really focused on networking and relationship building, and their search is not necessarily going to kick into high gear until our spring semester. And that is everything from still business careers. If I think about some real estate as well as investment management, that happens a little bit later. But then also some of our other careers, I think about a lot of the roles our students in the School of Communication are recruiting for, happen a little bit later. So it's just a matter of, again, working with the career advisor or your career coach to understand what the recruiting timeline is for the specific industry or function that you're recruiting for. So you don't kind of get caught up with the, well, wait, there's nothing for me right now. Am I missing something? No, it just means that your process is starting a little bit later.
Certainly, that's great to keep in mind. All right, our next question, are there specific efforts offered to focus on seniors that are feeling a little bit more urgency to find a job?
Ross, I'm looking at your face. Would you like to chime in there?
Yeah. And so just to give a little bit of context, I'm on year 16 here. And so I've known the School of Communications faculty and staff for a long, long time. So I've had a chance to build really strong relationships with them. And so in our school, I go into every senior capstone class. So it's the class that every senior has to take. And basically I do a presentation on the job search, including timeline, which Heather just talked about, because those finance and accounting students freak out all the other students in a good way because then they come to see us because they think they're behind. But I have a chance to do that with all of our seniors. And there are fall classes and spring classes. Specifically for our sport management senior class, we actually do um, an interviewing, like kind of how this would be in the real world type of thing, where they submit a job description, a resume, and a cover letter. They do a virtual interview and then an in-person interview, and they get graded on all of it, and then they're given feedback. So we have really high engagement with our seniors in the School of Com, and there are a lot of similar things um, inside the School of Business as well. For our College of Arts and Sciences students, a lot of times they prefer to take the CAE class that we teach, and I career, I can't remember what CAE stands for. I think it's career exploration. And so that's kind of like our adulting class. So things to focus on, not only with looking for a job and networking, but thinking about, okay, you're going to have a budget and you're going to have to pay rent and you're going to have to do X, Y, and Z. So focusing on all of those things as well. Since our College of Arts and Sciences is so big and there's like 65 plus majors, they're a little bit harder to kind of, get into the mix. But our CAE classes have been very, very helpful with that.
I would also add that we collect outcomes data through our first destination surveys, which helps us understand where our students are landing, whether that's graduate school or employment or otherwise post-graduation. And we start engaging with students before graduation and cap and gown actually hits. So we take that data, and if we notice that a student is still searching, we will also do direct outreach to that student and say, hey, I noticed you're still searching. Would you like to make an appointment? Are there things that we can help you with to make sure we're being proactive and supporting them in their search?
Wonderful. All right. So we mentioned several opportunities in the United States and making connections in the United States. We have a parent wondering if we make any connections in Canada or abroad.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of students that would like to be abroad after graduation. So, and as y'all know, there are many different ways that one can do that. They could do some type of internship or service or teach English abroad, and we talk with students a lot about applying for roles at bigger organizations that have jobs globally and working at those organizations for a couple of years and then transitioning to their London or Madrid office. And again, engaging with alumni as well. I use LinkedIn to help find maybe alums that are in the UK, and I go with the student and look through their profile and find, oh, the way that they got in there is they did a 1 year graduate program in London, and then that led to an internship that led to a job. So again, doing a lot of research, seeing other people's paths, and then connecting with those people to find out best methods to do that. Um, but there are a lot of really great opportunities post-grad for internationally interested students.
And I would also say our corporate and employer relations team regularly surveys students to get an understanding of where do they want to be working, both in terms of industry function, but geography. So we try to monitor trends. So if we're seeing that students are interested in working in Canada or in London, we will go out and do additional business development in terms of coming up with those pipelines and partnerships for them to engage with post-graduation.
Great. All right. It looks like we have time for one more question. We have a few parents wondering how they can find information about specific career advisors or career coaches and where that information would be.
Well, simply as visiting our website. If you go to our website, you can see our list of staff across all of our verticals, but specifically what career coaches and advisors are affiliated with the specific college, school, or program of your student. Again, if you think about the structure of our office, we centrally, our corporate and employer relations and ops and comm verticals provide support for all of Elon University. But our career advisors and our career coaches are very school portfolio based, going back to that hub and spoke model. But the nice thing, and Ross, do you want to talk a little bit about, sometimes I get this question from parents is, my student is a arts and sciences student, but they're interested in going into a comm role. Can I make an appointment with a comm coach as well as an arts and science advisor? How do you answer that question for a parent?
Yes, absolutely. And that happens all the time. I've worked with English majors that are interested in journalism. I've worked with music majors that are interested in working for a talent agency. So we refer all the time. And I saw a couple of questions like how do they know which advisor that they go to? So in the Elon Job Network, it has all the students' information, including major. And so once they have that major, it directs you to the two advisors or however many that are in that department. So if you're a business major, it's going to show you our business advisors. If you're a comm major, it's going to show you comm. Say that if you come to me and say, I'm actually really interested in operations, I'm going to say, okay, great. Well, you need to speak to Amanda. Let me give you her contact information so that she can put you in the system herself. After every meeting, we type notes that summarize what we talked about and next steps. So even though that person goes to Amanda, our biz advisor next, she can go back into my notes and see what we talked about, things that we've already covered, things like that. But that happens all the time. Absolutely.
Right, fantastic. Well, in the interest of time, I think that is all of the questions that we are able to answer. But I want to thank Heather and Ross both immensely again for spending some time with us, and for you all in the audience for joining us today. As a reminder, this specific webinar, if you want to watch it again or share it with any friends, will be posted on our Office of Parent Engagement website, along with our YouTube channel, which is at Elon Parents. Again, Heather and Ross, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. I know it's a particularly busy time of year for everyone, so we really appreciate your help. And hopefully we were able to answer a number of parent and family questions out there. Remember that we are always a resource for you here at Elon. And thank you so much again. We hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, everyone.